If it's bigger than what it's last, if it's smaller, yeah, sure.
I didn't know what the heck was going on in physics. I don't know what's going on. Which project?
I wasn't
Think you were gonna be here? Yeah.
Are you sick?
Yep.
Are you stupid?
I thought I was getting better, but
Did you get the flu as well?
I was whole trash can full of tissue today, so.
I strep and the flu were the same.
I had the flu over the weekend.
So you're who we got it from.
Huh?
I said you're the one we all got it from.
I don't know. No, literally, like 100 trillion
Yeah,
other
but it
people.
started from one person. Yep, Diego. Diego was patient 0.
Are you sick?
If I was patient 0, how were other people simultaneously sick? Check out.
There were plenty of people.
So like, I don't know what the heck's going on with the series, but like, I'll make sure to watch the videos.
Diego, or you?
Okay. So
We didn't get caught up.
yeah.
Because they were supposed to alternate sides. Yeah. And I realized whoever was doing this.
I knew I didn't leave it at home.
Wait, I think it's still. What? I was here yesterday.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought it was. What's this? Oh no, that's what I grabbed. Oh, I'm crazy. Yeah. That's what having pneumonia and flu in the span of a month does to you.
Yeah, welcome back, David.
Maybe I've lost too much oxygen.
It's gonna be out today.
I just missed like two series tests, right? It's practically
If you don't know, how am I supposed to? Alright, good afternoon, guys. I need your assignment from last class, 58, please. Double check your names on it and come turn it in.
So you just got
A few hours of work.
Yeah.
No. But I had to rush. This one.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. So first off, I wanted to remind you that our next quiz will be after section 10.9. So that is actually today. So Monday, we will have a day to review. We'll review all the stuff from section or unit 10 and then have a separate quiz. So today is going to be pretty similar to the last couple of classes. I'm going to show you the next step of series and sequences, which is where we are going to talk about the difference between absolute and conditional convergence and how to figure that out. I will ask you to update number 56. 56 was where you put on your own paper all of the tests, when you can use them, what conditions they are, when they tell you it converges, when they tell you it diverges, and what they tell you it converges to. So just one place where all the tests are going towards. Quick reminder about ACTM. Remember, I cannot put your name down to sign you up without your $5. So if you're interested in doing that, please do that as soon as possible. That deadline is roughly about a week away. I don't know the exact date, but if you know you're going to do it, then you get no benefit from waiting. Also, we had our last quiz finish, so I'll talk about the quiz correction stuff here in just a bit. But let's go ahead and start. Thank you. Let's go ahead and look at our next piece today. Absolute or conditional convergence. So this one is actually a really good unit to review a bit on because a lot of our previous stuff is going to show back up in this. So we're really looking for three things. Either a series converges absolutely, conditionally, or just diverges. So we're going to do something called converge absolutely, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the question given to us and we're going to worry only about if it was all positive, so absolute value, absolutely, absolute value, that's how you can remember that. And if that converges, then the original series also converges, which is why we can say it converges absolutely. Whereas if the absolute diverges, we have to also try, so this one's more work, the original one. So if this one diverges but this one converges, we say it converges conditionally. It depends. And then if they both diverge, they both diverge. So this is the one that you are hoping for. If this converges, you can quit and say absolute convergence. If this one diverges, you also have to test this. If it also diverges, you say they diverge or they're divergent. But if this one diverges and that one converges, that's when it's conditional. So for these questions, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to rephrase it. We're going to test absolute convergence first. So squeeze in some absolute value signs there. And then basically you're going to rewrite the question, and we are going to strip out the part that would ever make any of the terms negative. So notice if I plug in n equals 1, I get something negative. I plug in n equals 2, I get something positive. I plug in n equals 3, I get something negative. So what is making some of these terms negative? Alright, so let's just take away the negative. These are the same thing. This guy is now always positive. So what I'm going to hope is I'm going to figure out if he converges or not. If this guy converges, which comes from thinking of the absolute value of it, then our answer will be that it absolutely converges. If this diverges, but then the original question with the negative converges, it converges conditionally. And if this diverges and that diverges, then they diverge. So nothing special there. So one way you could deal with this, and again, this is why this lesson's halfway kind of a review. So sure, once we do these few examples, I'll go back over this, and there's really not that much information to absorb there. But when you're looking at this, you still have to figure out, is this converging or diverging? So it's going to force you into thinking about, well, last time we did the ratio test, so we could do that. And the ratio test is where we took a term, the n plus 1 term, and divided it by the nth term, or multiplied by the reciprocal of the nth term. So remember, this is what I'm calling a sub n. So this is a sub n plus 1. Everywhere there was an n, there's an n plus 1. Okay, last time I hope that I showed you that generally with the ratio test, the hardest part is just you start canceling stuff out, you might lose something. So maybe take an extra step and say 3 to the n plus 1 is like 3 to the n times 3 to the first. N plus 1 factorial is like n plus 1 times n factorial. And if you're just a little more careful about reducing, then it's a little harder to miss it. Okay, so now that I have started the ratio test for us and I've reduced all of those terms, what does this limit go to? Okay, and 0 is less than, therefore this guy does what? If the ratio test was less than 1 last class, what happened? It converges. And since this is it came from this, we can say that he absolute convergence. Or absolutely converges. Or converges absolutely. Whatever you want to say. Same thing. So if taking the absolute value of n converges, then you can quit and say that it absolutely converges. Okay, so in question 2, again, I'm going to hope that he absolutely converges because that's the least amount of work. So I'm going to squeeze in absolute value signs here. I'm going to rewrite the question and I'm going to strip away anything that is making it give me any negative terms. So what should I remove from this question? Okay, so this stuff that's highlighted, this is what's sometimes making some terms negative, so let's not include it. Okay, so these are basically saying the same thing. Since I'm doing absolute value, I'm making sure everything's positive. Pulling this out of it is making sure I only get positive stuff. Okay, well, this looks like a P series to me, and P is 1/3, and since 1/3 is less than 1, what does that mean for P series? It diverges. Now, does that mean that this is divergent?
No.
Not necessarily. It could be that it's just not absolutely convergent. It might be conditionally convergent. So, unlike question 1, where this converged, so I said absolutely converged. In question 2, I did that. This part diverged, but the original part might converge. So we have to test that out. So now, without the absolute value signs, I need to work this almost like its own question. So, looking at this whole mess of things, what type of test do you think we should try to apply? Good. You should be trying to do the alternating test because it's got something that's alternating between positive and negative terms. So, alternating test, we first just make sure, and again, this is where all the review kind of sneaks in. We make sure that the limit as n approaches infinity of a sub n is all of the non-alternating stuff. So the limit of this stuff is supposed to be 0. Is that true? Yes. Okay. If that was not true, then the nth term test tells us it diverges and I could quit. I could say that they both diverge. Okay, the other part of the alternating series test is you have to make sure that this a sub n is always decreasing. So sometimes you're going to do a sub n plus 1 divided by a sub n, divide those, or multiply by the reciprocal and make sure that it's less than 1. In this case though, I can just plug in a few values and see what's going on here. If I plug 1 into this, I get this. If I plug in 2, if I plug in 3, do you see how these are getting smaller? They're approaching 0. So both of those worked in. So this we can see does converge by alternating series. But since this didn't converge, we can only say that it converges conditionally. So it didn't converge with the absolute value signs, but it did converge on its own. If it converges for both, well, if it converges with the absolute value signs, it will converge for both, and you can say absolute. If it does not converge with the absolute value signs, but it converges without the absolute value signs, you say it converges conditionally. And if they both diverge, then they both diverge. Okay, so question 3. So if we test absolute first, squeeze in absolute value signs, rewrite the question, make sure you just take away anything that has something that's going to give you something negative, which would be this stuff. So we're only going to worry about the rest of this. Okay, now I'm going to ask you if this converges or diverges, and honestly you should be able to answer that in about 5-10 seconds. C or D, converge or diverge? Okay, what is an easy test to figure out that this diverges? The nth term test says if you take the limit as n approaches infinity of a sub n, what would this be here? It's 1. If it's not 0, he diverges. If he does equal 0, you still got to do more work. So it can't converge absolutely because the absolute version of it did not converge. Nth term test did not work. Okay, so now we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to try to work it without worrying about making everything positive. So you have to look at this whole series, realize that this is an alternating series, and then you got to think about what 2 things have to be true in an alternating series for this to converge. Well, one is the limit as n approaches infinity of a sub n has to be 0. And is it? No, it's basically the same work as over here. So this diverges also. So that question just diverges. So basically, I think you can start to see here where it's going to be more work and where it's going to be less work. If something diverges, you do have to work it twice, I guess. The absolute diverges, but usually if the other part diverges also, it's usually very similar work like this one. You're basically doing the same thing twice. In question 1, if something converges absolutely, you really only have to see that it converges for the absolute value, and then you can quit. So you only really have to do one. The one that's kind of a pain is when the absolute doesn't work, so it's not absolutely convergent, and then you have to test the other one and it does converge, because then it's kind of like you're doing 2 questions for 1. So that's why those are more work. Okay, the other thing they're going to ask you to look at here is trying to figure out what values of x make sure that values of x makes it converge absolutely. Okay, so if I wanted it to converge absolutely, I'm going to squeeze in my little absolute value signs here. I'm going to think about this / rewrite it, rephrase it, and I'm going to take away anything that's given me negative terms and just keep up with the rest of that. Alright, so now to try to figure out what value of x makes this absolutely converge, I need to just figure out what values of x makes this converge. So, leaning on the ratio test we talked about last class, I can do the limit, and I'm going to try to section this off a little bit. This is a sub n plus 1. So everywhere there's an n, put an n plus 1. Divided by a sub n. This would be a sub n, the non-alternating part of that. Sorry, not that part, this part. Here's a sub n. But I'm dividing by this, so I'm going to multiply by his reciprocal. So 6 to the n over n, x plus 4 to the n. Okay, and now before I start working through this, I want to make sure that this converges. So I'm going to keep these absolute value signs in here. And like we talked about last class, since this is the ratio test, he will converge when this is less than 1. So squeeze in your absolute value signs and make an inequality out of it. Now we have something to solve for. Okay, so again, be extra careful here so you don't lose something. But this x plus 4 to the n could cancel out this x plus 4 to the n plus 1 and leave an x plus 4 to the first. I've got a 6 to the n that could cancel out this 6 to the n, and it would just leave behind the 6. Okay, and then I'm going to rearrange some of this stuff. I think it's going to help you see what we need to do. I'm going to put all the n stuff over here times all of the x stuff over here. Now, this part should be okay to deal with because you're taking the limit as n approaches infinity. So as n goes to infinity, what is this fraction with all my n stuff in it going to do? Okay, it's going to go to 1. So now this inequality is the last thing that needs to be solved. So if this is positive, I want x plus 4 divided by 6 to be less than 1. And if it's negative, I need to make sure that it's bigger than negative 1. Since there's the absolute value, like for example, if this is negative 1/2, the absolute value of negative 1/2 is positive 1/2, which is still less than 1. So do it like that. Multiply everything by 6 and subtract 4 from everything. Those are the values of x that would converge absolutely. Any value of x bigger than negative 10 but less than 2 would make that converge. So again, it looks super messy right here, but all I really did was apply the ratio test and say that to make it converge, the absolute value needs to be less than 1. I rearranged this stuff because you should be able to see that this goes to 1, so then I really just needed to make sure that the absolute value of this was less than 1, and then that gave me a pretty easy inequality to solve. Okay, we got one more of these, and this one's not as bad, but I'm going to ask you to add a little bit to it because there is a question type that they don't make you answer in the notes that I would like you to talk about, or like us to talk about. Okay, so what are we doing? Figure out which value makes this converge absolutely. So absolutely, absolute values. That's how you can remember that. So start off by trying to do the ratio test here. Take a sub n plus 1 divided by a sub n, or multiplied by the reciprocal of a sub n. And we want this to converge absolutely. So absolutely means absolute value signs. Converge, we want this to be less than 1. This one's a lot easier to see than question 4. Okay, we can try to cancel some stuff here. This x minus 1 to the n could cancel out this x minus 1 to the n and leave an x minus 1 to the first. Now, I'm going to make a fraction just of my n stuff. I've got n over n plus 1 times, and then a fraction of my x stuff. Because the n stuff you should be able to simplify pretty nicely using horizontal asymptote rules. The limit as n approaches infinity of all of this would have to be 1. So if all of that goes to 1, and there's no n's here, so I'm done with the limit now, I just need to make sure that this is true, which is true when this is less than 1 or greater than negative 1. Again, because if you can make this bigger than negative 1, even though it could be negative, the absolute value of something negative is still going to be less than a positive 1. And then solve. Add 1 to everything. And this is where he converges absolutely. Or absolutely converges, whatever you want to say. Okay, the thing I want you to add to this, though, again, I don't know why they didn't put this in the note examples, but sometimes they might want you to figure out, is it, well, first off, it's not absolutely converging at 0 or 2. Notice we're not including 0, we're not including 2. So it might be converging conditionally at 0, and it might be converging conditionally at 2. So over to the side, add some notes here so that you can see what to do when you need to do that. So if you want to know if it's converging conditionally at 0, take the original question and actually plug in 0 for x. Okay, does negative 1 to the n over n, does that converge or diverge? It does converge. This is an alternating series. The limit as n approaches infinity of 1 over n is 0, and 1 over n is decreasing towards 0. The two conditions for alternating series are met. So he is he's conditionally convergent at x equals 0. Okay, so using that example, how do you think we're going to test if x equals 2 is conditionally? Okay, plug it into what though?
The original.
Right, so plug it into the original problem where there's an x and just see what happens. Okay, so 1 to the n is always going to just be 1, so make it look as nice as possible. What is this guy going to do? Okay, how did you know it was going to diverge so quickly? Right, it's the harmonic series. Harmonic series always diverges. So this at x equals 2, plugging in 2 for x and working it, I can see he diverges. So he is not convergent at x equals 2. Plugging in x equals 0, he did converge. So he's conditionally convergent at x equals 0. You can't say he's absolutely convergent at x equals 0 because if it was, it would have included him in this first work. So again, they do ask you to do this part to figure out for x equals 0, x equals 2, so make sure you add that to your notes, please. Okay, so quick recap of what I need out of you guys today. So first off, I want you to focus on this one first. So there's not a ton of questions here. There's 10 questions. So I'd like you to try those, check your answers, make sure all of that is good and ready to go. I'd like you to update 56. 56 was the one that you started on your own piece of paper where we've been writing all the different tests. Just what do they look like? What do they tell you about when it converges? What do they tell you about when it diverges? Just everything in one place. So I'd like you to update that. I'm going to grade your homeworks, and so that you can add ratio tests to that. I'll pass it back. I already reminded you about the ACTM reminder, and then for the quiz corrections. So how I want to handle those is I'm going to give you up to half of your points back. So if you got an 8 out of 10, you can get half of your points back and get a 9 out of 10. But I need you to go back over the ones you missed and correct them, obviously. So you are welcome to do that anytime during advisory. So if you're in a hurry to get that correction changed in your grade, sign up for advisory as soon as possible. You can do it then. Or I'll let you do it during class, but I'm only going to let you do it during class if you're done with the other stuff. So if you finish 59 and you update your 56 and you show me that you have both those done and you still have some class time, then I will let you start doing your quiz corrections while you're here. But I don't want y'all to do that instead of moving forward on the new stuff, so that's why I'm doing it that way. Does that make sense? And again, don't assume that that's always going to be the case. That last quiz, I only used AP style questions and I didn't give you any other curve. That's why I'm offering you some points back. If the questions had not all been AP level difficulty, I wouldn't do that. Or if I had curved it some other way, I wouldn't have done that. So that's the plan. So try these 10 questions. Make sure you're getting the hang of absolute versus conditional. Realize that this is the last new topic before our next quiz. So on Monday, we'll review. Wednesday, we will quiz. So in a way, this is kind of a review too, because it makes you think about alternating series and P series and harmonic series and all the stuff that we've been snowballing to. So we've got that coming up. We're down to 6 after today. There's just 6 more new lessons, and then we can focus solely on repracticing some of it, and of course reviewing some of the AB stuff you have maybe not thought about in a while. And so we're pretty close to the end of the new content, at least. Last thing I want to say, I was very disappointed in my first period class today because they were not able to explain this meme to me, and I was very proud of finding this meme this morning. And you don't even need to know who that person is. If you want to take the derivative of that top thing, you're going to have to do what? Chain rule how many times?
4 times?
How many insides are there? 2. So you're doing chain rule twice. 2 chain rules. It's 2 chains, if you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a pretty good one. Okay.
That's pretty good. Very niche.
I was trying to figure out what it was. Do you know who he's not? Do you know who is it?
Well, there's context clues. Yeah, it's 2 chain. It's 2 chains.
No, I'm talking about the person.
Yeah.
That's 2 chains.
Actually?
Yes.
I thought you were talking about his word 2 chain. I'm like, I don't want the other chain.
No. It's a rapper named 2 Chainz. He's just trolling me. Okay. Let me get these homeworks graded, passed back to you, and then I will try to help out as you need it. All right, first paper, no name on it.
I wasn't here last class, so I can just like go where I find. Am I supposed to like look on the website?
Yeah, so you can either on the website mean, you can either watch our class recording if you want to see me go over it, or if you scroll all the way down, there's a video review of the notes. And so the company that makes them also goes over the notes too. So whichever one you prefer.
Whoa. Shoot. Now, why is that desk? Is that even there?
Why don't you just slow down a little bit?
Well, the thing is that I didn't even slide my chair that far back.
Well, let's not slam your chair at all.
Huh?
I said, let's just not slam the chair at all.
No, I slid it back when I was getting out.
You slammed it back.
No, I actually left after World Almost. The second season also. I mean, I was well, okay. We average 4 more minutes per game, which is there's 2 more games. I don't just play we're just playing 7 games. And I run on minutes. He played 38, 17, 37. What's funny is you see, he has more points in that goal. No, I don't know. You need to tell me. I'm not surprised. Well, you want to
Yeah, do I like just take away the negative ones or whatever, and then you do the test on the if that converges, it means absolute value converges. Because you're taking away everything going subtract. Use the ratio test. 6 n plus 1 squared pi to the plus 1 times pi to the n over n squared plus 8.
They'll tell you what's the
Where are you? Just took the negative away. I thought.
what's the ratio?
The ratio test? Oh,
Like when you for alternating.
use the alternating series test for alternating. Yeah, but if you take the negative,
Even though you were sick.
like, you can use the ratio test on stuff that isn't alternating series.
You like do those long custom. But I think
Wait,
it's
why didn't you get to sit next to each other?
perfect timing. So I can see the
Seems like, oh, this is good to go inside. Yeah. Looks like it.
Wait, seriously?
Okay, Hunger is done as a control.
Yeah, she was here. She was here.
I think your Warriors is gonna trick
Other Warriors,
I think so.
better not give up too much.
Isn't it close on
It's probably through the very getting a pick.
So we think so.
It's probably gonna be.
Was it one
Very
versus
getting a
one?
pick.
That's a lot. We all went over the top.
One of the things
Kyra,
that
there's some comments, maybe the $4 million.
I don't mind if they give up picks. I don't know.
One give up, the other could be.
You know what his injury is?
I think he's off
For the whole season?
Yeah.
Oh, if he's off for the whole
Which is
season.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, because he may not ever bounce back.
Maybe your world has some after that. Oh, I never, I'm not talking. I'm surprised that.
Oh, did you not do something? Well, I do just scan them.
I mean,
Sometimes I do miss.
what do you
Well,
mean?
it's in your favor then, you got lucky that time. So
Thank you.
sometimes, well, it's not a thank you, I didn't do it on
What's your
purpose.
essay? What's your essay? Like, I finished it basically.
But that's also why I'm quick to give you half credit for not finishing, because if I can see that you didn't do something in the 10 seconds I scan it, then.
I mean, I tried, but I wasn't here that day, so.
Oh.
Okay, everyone says they played a large role, but I'm like the only person who's really
It's not fair. I give you late points. You turned in later, you got
He
it.
doesn't finish. As long as he's
I didn't know this.
Oh my God.
Also, he's nice to me.
I'm nice to you too. What do you mean?
Alpaca, emu, something.
I was gonna go, was it the yellow turn where you removed those ones? Yeah, that's what.
What do you want me to do? Go back and give him half credit because he was honest and, no? Okay, if you did not get your homework back, it was because I didn't know this paper was yours. There was one with no name on it. I think you're the last person to turn it in. Okay, I guess I'll just throw it away.
I was gonna use that as my, extra.
Oh, is that yours?
It doesn't talk about
Is that yours?
Yeah.
You want me to give you points for it? What was it? 5 out of 10? Okay. Everyone heard you're okay with 5 out of 10.
Sorry. I was really reading. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
If I get murdered this weekend, y'all need to look into Olivia, please.
Last year, we had this one assignment where I left like one question blank.
Yeah?
Like at the very end, like very suddenly, and he saw that it took off like, so I didn't think that either.
Well, that's what I try to do, but I just do a quick participation scan. Sometimes you might miss one and I may not notice. I'm not. But at the same time, if I see that you didn't do something and give you half credit, there's probably sometimes that maybe didn't do it too, and you did get credit. So I just like you guys to know that you're going to get full credit or not. So I don't want there to be any like question about what your homework grade's going to be.
Oh, yeah. So it's just conditional. So. Oh, so here's like
All right, I've passed back all the homework papers, so as you guys want me to look at and help you with any, please let me know. Also, if you finish these 10 questions and you update your 56 and you show them to me, I will let you start your quiz corrections in class, or just do them if you have enough time. But obviously those of you that made 100 on your quiz don't have to do anything.
Because if you just 4 gives you convergent values, so and it has to be either 4 or 4
Not feeling that well.
It's square plus 2.
He's technically
Wait, so the 1 is still there, right? That's still reciprocal, so you just flip them. It's just a reciprocal.
Don't vandalize.
Yeah. That's a good point.
The bottom, the top one gets cancelled.
If it's always positive, it doesn't have that's the conditional part. If this can have this negative.
So I got this. Trading machine. So this there's definitely still an negative one.
Exactly, makes it good. Absolutely. Really? So if it's the negative one,
Yeah, I mean, you can add them.
For number 9?
Yeah, no, there's the top one right here. This is the top one. And then there's the end right here. The minus is the X and so it's
We can do the, 10 swings.
it's gonna be four swings. So
I mean,
You mean N okay, N is
really?
This one just converges without this. Because it really is like 9
See, that's what I had. That's what I had first. I guess I didn't play this.
Wait, 1 over,
Oh yeah.
Oh, wait.
wait, but 1 over,
Well, that's greater than 1 over 10. The 1 over 10 is 5. So that's what I'm
wait, L and
L is energy divided by N is greater than.
yeah, L and L is greater than 1 over 10 always, and 1 over N. And then we can do the, coordinate series test. Are you sure? Wait, but they don't plus the other LA and plus 1 divided by
We'll just use alternating sign.
yeah, the term after.
Alternating series is limit goes to 0.
isn't that the 2 though? Because right here, so this goes to.
Wait, are you sure this is true? Are you sure? Alternating series test requires like the term after is less than 2.
Yeah, if you're decreasing. And it already decreases, right?
I get, I mean, is it because N is
N is great, always greater than
1,000?
This is the graph. Because the LN graph is like this, and the N graph is like this.
I get skeptical. Let's check your answers.
Oh,
I know, I'm
Oh, this is, yeah.
And then for 2 slides, they were talking about how their boys got bald.
I mean, that is cool.
And then the very next slide was, okay, let's talk about food.
yeah.
There's one above that needs to be 2 up top.
There's not.
I mean, they're not wrong, that's why they gave,
Yeah, no people's by
that's why they gave, a lot of
This, so this will go right here.
yeah, we got them all right, because they, because they tested it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Impulse and momentum?
It's so easy to
Okay.
carry stuff around. I don't know why.
Patrick, you need a stapler?
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like an easier topic.
What do you think though?
Yeah, okay.
Wait, I thought you had something to do.
Not tomorrow. I had something to do last time. Not this time. I can go this time.
You still have something to do? You still have something to do? Like before you said you want to come and then you still have something that
No. Not this week. Why do you think I do? What makes you think I do?
Figure out where it's absolutely convergent.
In the thing goes
You're pretentious sometimes. That's why. Like, remember that time I said I got like an 80 on the
Well, you were just-
and then you said that I did so bad.
Wait,
Let's go.
No, I turned it down.
that's not even. That's not it.
I turned it
You're including the board on fair.
Can you take the job?
I would not include the board. I would say the limit of this in stuff goes to one.
I'm sorry.
The other stuff is X over four. So you have to value X over four is less than one. So X over four has to be less than one and has to be greater than negative one.
I wasn't here when we did this.
Okay, so something you have to name up.
It doesn't? Oh.
Okay, now this tells you when it converges absolutely. You wanna know when it's conditional, this is the extra note that I have you guys.
Oh,
So you're gonna actually test negative 4 so plug negative 4 into the original problem. It's gonna be like alternate series. And also,
You mean just
it's conditional,
What?
it's the same thing.
Yeah, you said yeah.
Just need to show me. It's just
Okay, bro.
when was this ever
Also, what if I told
that
you
one would
that
not
you
ever
did so
be
bad on that
negative.
calculus? What if I told you that you did so bad? Like,
well, we got the same
if
score.
we think you take your best.
I mean, I accept that it was not rigid. I mean,
No, it could still be conditional. To be absolute is when that absolute.
It's always
That's true, but it's maybe not during the same time.
You remember.
So like you did these two, you can do this, and then this told us the range where it's absolutely convergent. And then like we talked about over here at the end of this question, if you wanted to know if 0 was conditional or if 2 was conditional, you have to put 0 in for x and work that into some question, and then 2 in for x and work that into another question. So that's how you're gonna know. You gotta do the long thing
Oh, you
first.
laughed at me when I got like a
You're gonna get, I think this, basically. But this would be the answer if it wanted to
I mean, that's fair.
know,
Maybe just
absolute convergence. But since it's one, when is it conditional, I think you're gonna try negative 4 in for x, work it to figure out if this is your answer, or it's positive 4. And then see if it's
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Think about
All right, Diego, now's not the time.
I just had to check some.
No, you don't.
I guess you just would option. You can always reconcile.
Like out of the because like it would give it a way to be like reflecting on itself. And sometimes and not always.
That's how I just did in the No, that's, it's not like, you can get the deluxe for like,
Oh wait, that's crazy.
just like, maybe like a $70 thing.
I'm just laughing that it's on sale.
Until now. I'm gonna buy it. It's like, come on. You ever played Dead Space?
I did. I played the remake recently.
Is it good?
The remake was very good. I didn't play the original.
Because it's on sale for like $15.
I paid nothing. It was on Game Pass, I think. The thing is, though, if you can beat it in under a month, you could just get Game Pass for like $15 a month, play it, be done with it, and then still have time to try some other stuff.
You don't actually need an Xbox to use Game Pass.
Yeah, there's PC Game Pass too.
You can use, there's a Microsoft account. You can use the Xbox, the Xbox interface for PC. And you can play any games with your Xbox account through the PC or things through an Xbox account. That's how I play Sea of Thieves. Although Sea of Thieves is
I mean,
they've made some very questionable decisions in recent times. So, yeah, I played it for a while. Mostly with friends.
Dead Space is very good though. It's like kind of like Resident Evil, sort of.
probably a little scarier, I think.
Depends on which Resident Evil.
I don't know. I didn't really think it was scary.
I'd say it depends on the Resident Evil.
There's like maybe one time where you're running around in the dark, kind of. What's the scariest Resident Evil game? Because I started 7 and I thought it was scary and I quit.
I haven't played a lot of them, but some of the like original games, it kind of seems hokey, but they're actually a lot scarier than you give them credit for. Like originally, like Resident Evil 2 was pretty scary. The remake is just really difficult because they adjusted the zombie sensitivity so that you can't even like be close to them before they get you. But in the original, you could just like run through hallways with zombies in it as long as you kited the hallway correctly. So they made it a lot. It's a lot harder, but not for like actual more difficult. It's just the sensitivity of the trigger, the event triggers is way
I did never play 2 very much, but I did play the remake all the way through and I enjoyed it.
Mr. Thompson, would you be willing to put in my grades?
These grades?
Yes.
Well, this one was due, let's see. $55.
So I wasn't here on Monday or Friday. And
Yeah.
that means you give me one extra day on Wednesday, and then I can turn it in today. Is that not the policy?
Well, I'm just saying that this one we turned in on Monday. So you turned it in 4 days later.
Was I here on Wednesday?
True. I'm just saying, if it took you 4 extra days to turn it in, I get at least 4 extra days to grade it.
So
So,
Monday, Tuesday, by next Thursday, I'll have your grades in.
by next Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you put in negative dates? Can you put in negative points?
Tested the second time. This is still more than you.
Yeah, tested it one time.
Let it
Because echelon 1. Echelon 1 over 1. And then echelon 2 over 2 is not negative. So it needs an aggregation.
My head's underwater. Yep.
Under what we did, like,
Yeah, you're taking
we just plug in the X from.
plugging in that value.
Yeah, so like,
Gosh. Okay, well, what the 4D and 4D just cancel it. So they just don't even matter. So, I don't know, you gotta read all the different tests, it's not geometric, it's not a P-series. You try the end return test, that's the limit of that, and then goes to infinity equals 0, so the end return test doesn't help you. But that's not an alternating series, though. Alternating series, try to change from positive to negative, or negative to positive. Why don't you try the ratio test? Or wait, you weren't
ratio, so is it just, you just do this, or it's just?
And the ratio test is where, ratio test will converge if you take a term, divide it by its previous term, and it's less than 1. It diverges if you get greater than 1. And it doesn't tell you anything.
So we just everywhere where a score.
Yeah, so what is your ace of it? So ace of it equals 1, just means everywhere there's an end, you're gonna have
Even if
one.
that's your options.
Plus 1 over
Yes.
plus 1. This is ace of n plus 1.
Okay.
Divided by ace of n. It's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal of ace of So, and then we're gonna take the limit and then just the n plus 1 squared and n squared plus 1. You can't have this cancel one of these, because this is also. Just imagine if you multiplied all this together, what would the degree of the derivative Okay, what's the degree of the denominator? Well, all we really care about is what's going to be greater than 1 or less than 1
I think 1 minus it would just bring those two. Wait.
Okay. Then maybe each one we need to do a different test.
Wait, did I tell you about
No, I like to.
So Matt, what do you know about efficiency?
Actually, you should pay him and see what happens.
That's how he got hacked.
But he actually, I don't know.
He said he fell for it.
That's not
Can we do test corrections?
No.
Okay.
You need to show me that you got both these done.
We got it done.
These will be less than one. Because availability keep
So after his class,
Were you good? Were you good? Practice?
just talking to
Okay, I guess. Another check. Yeah, if this goes to 1.
What is that?
This doesn't tell us anything.
It used to actually work.
So x equals 4.
Have you ever done it? I would not pick x equals 4. You're retarded.
But what else could you try?
Yes, it's just actually.
I should try multiple. I thought you didn't try
Wait, let me try the game with a different card. At the start, if n versus x is negative, if x is negative,
Hey, you didn't say that right in front of your face, no? Say that again, say that again. Actually, nice.
yeah, this is an alternating. Because you compare these up, I just call them -1.
wait, oh, okay.
Our negative, look at the rest of those as an alternating series. The limit of that goes to 0, and the first part of alternating series. Getting closer to 0. Just be careful when you say decreasing, so it's not more negative, or that's getting closer to 0. So that word is alternating. So x equals the -4 is 5. -4
Okay, so hold on, step 2.
It is correct.
Wait, you have to do.
This, the last one?
You have to do.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, I'll send it.
You know.
This range, this -4 to 4,
This is what you found, this is when it,
Alright, CIG.
I don't know if I should do AP right now or do.
it's just that that wasn't correct.
Be part of it together.
So, it's
yeah, it just ends up in the original step.
4,
Yeah.
okay, let's go there.
Where's your card? Not there.
That's where the absolute checking endpoint
I
to
put
the
that
test.
Was it good mechanics?
They're all different. Dang, you got you didn't know it actually got it worse. And then I was like, wait.
Yes.
So it's got a hand
Alright, I'm gonna put these two in the grade book, so you don't have to turn them in next time. You might wanna put 10 on 10 on the top, so you remember.
What out of it? I actually wanna know what I'm doing.
No, you already figured out what you need to say.
The bottom numbers.
I haven't done my,
Wait, this one or the?
Bless you.
AGS. I can plug under.
Bless you. There was a school.
Thank you.
School board?
Not to fill this form, so that it's all
Oh, I got that. I haven't done my actual application. I heard it takes a while.
corrections on a separate sheet of paper. You only need to rework the ones that you missed. For me, you might look at the other ones, you might have made an educated guess on something else and just got lucky, so. If you finish the corrections and I tell you you're finished, you can keep the quiz today, and if you run out of class time before you're done, then I'll let the quiz back, so you can come back and finish it.
You get 4 wrong?
And you have to do the alternate.
What are you trying to do? Figure out if it's converging?
It was the alternating one that didn't line.
Okay, this is, they're doing, they're taking, this is 8%. Here's dividing by 8%. What is that? I guess it's 8%. So this is became N+1. And right here is how they replace that with N+1. And then they distribute can't tell the type of it. It's just like this. Yeah, so this N became operating. That N became.
You still, there's not even
Let me do it. Still P here. There's one that needs it converge, and that just makes it.
It's probably just gonna ask if it conditionally dies.
And then which performance is true, so it's natural log.
That's a big water bottle. It is 50 fluid ounces. All of the water that I need in a day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you could just refill it during the day, and then you
Yeah,
don't have
I refill it one time a day in the morning.
How do you get so
Just like rework the problem.
No, I'm about 125, so it's a little less. But yeah, but it's enough.
I feel like I have 50 fluid ounces of water in my head right now.
I feel like that a lot during the
Like,
spring.
So now we have to test.
I think my whole head is just liquid.
Yeah, I feel like that in the spring. I have really bad seasonal allergies that are almost as bad as getting actually sick.
Oh,
It's
Have you
delightful.
taken a decongestion?
I did last night before bed, but I should have taken one this morning. I will take one when I get home.
Probably for the best. I would assume.
And then that would just be like what? It doesn't do that. It doesn't. So the first part works, the second part. The second part. Or natural atmosphere is natural atmosphere. It's getting bigger. Sure, 'cause the bottom. The bottom. It's like one, what's natural
Minus 1.
No, it was just two.
And it feels like it's minus 1. And x plus 3 and 4. It's just
I'm so sorry.
So many dumb mistakes.
Oh my god.
Here.
That's the alternating.
Where'd they go?
That's the second part, they just put it on that side. Where it's like,
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
I wasn't here Monday to turn in 55. So I just have it right there.
Okay.
Or Wednesday. Yeah, so.
Yeah. They were telling me to sneeze on your chair more when you were going.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, who?
The whole class.
Alright. Always gotta be done.
I'm just kidding. It's a little out of context.
Oh yeah, I know. That's a good joke
Here are my test corrections.
Why didn't you just do this the first time? Why didn't you do these the first time?
What do you mean?
Why didn't you do them right the first time?
Everyone makes mistakes, Mr. Townsend.
No.
No?
Okay, keep these. And I can give you half your points back.
Yay!
We turn this in on Monday.
Yes. It's fine.
What was the procedure for getting partial credit? You just have to like come in and advisory?
Oh, for the quiz?
Yeah.
Yes. You need to work the ones you missed on a separate sheet of paper, and I give you half your points back.
Alright.
But it needs to be during advisory or after you're done with all this for the day. I don't want you doing that instead of doing your regular work.
Sounds good. You will see me next week.
Hopefully more than I saw you this week.
Yeah. Wait, you still can keep it.
Okay, here you go. Keep it with your notes.
What is your brand? Yeah. He moved to Dallas. That's the weird tactic. Wait, did
We're in the same together, so. Oh, I had two requested on the
did you
No, just answer requested.
do the work done by the guy by or no, the work put into by the